Jayden Daniels did an interview with Yahoo Sports, and Nate Tice was actually on our show from Media Row last week. And the idea of acquiring help and weapons came up, and I don't know if you'd call it unsolicited or not because it was kind of hinted at, but he went out of his way to talk about being interested in bringing Brandon Aiyuk to Washington, D.C. This was Daniels on Yahoo.
Building the offense together, maybe adding new pieces. You guys added Josh Connolly last year, Laramie at the tackle spots. Pretty exciting stuff. You had Bill at running back, just one name. You know, you get Jayden Daniels, but he just gets Bill, apparently. Is there something is there one little thing that you might want to add on, like a player type, maybe a little message to your bosses, like kind of like, this is what I like to throw to? We talked last year at Arizona State and at LSU. You had a bunch of cool receivers, but is there one type that you maybe want to add on there?
There's a couple of individuals that are out there. Maybe somebody from Arizona State in my past. You know,
lives on the West Coast.
Yeah, there's people like that out there. I don't want to get too much. No. But when that time comes, and hopefully we can sign those type of players.
Jayden Daniels, Yahoo Sports, referring to Brandon Aiyuk, who's one of his best buddies. The 27-year-old wide receiver played with him at Arizona State before being drafted by the San Francisco 49ers, 25th overall in the 2020 draft. Daniels would leave and go on to LSU, become the Heisman Trophy winner, and obviously eventually become the number 2 pick by Washington. Aiyuk has not played in a year and a half.
Yeah.
He had a very, very serious injury that he has been working his way back from. Or not, I guess.
I was going to say, has he?
As the reports go. Because the 49ers were so upset that he stopped rehabbing and showing up at the facility and taking care of himself to get back on the field that they quite literally had already paid him a massive contract and went to him and said, we're taking away your guaranteed money. At which point, the union, which is there for a reason, has a chance to say, no, you're not. And he gets his money because it's guaranteed and it's contractual. And Aiyuk was like, they kind of have a point here. You can just let them do their thing. I'm paraphrasing. But it's a year and a half since he played. This team that paid him all of the money has already moved on and said, no thank you to Brandon Aiyuk. They're going to be trading him. I don't think they will be able to at the contract. So releasing him, and someone else is going to have to bring him in. And Washington might be at the front of that line because they need receivers and because of the very personal relationship between their quarterback in the face of their franchise and Aiyuk.
So if we really think he can help, then I guess I understand it. I'm just from the outside looking in going, there's no way, right? There's no way that a guy that didn't really feel like showing up just to do some knee extensions and catch a tennis ball while on a little wobbly station to do some rehab couldn't bother to do that. That guy is going to help you? I don't believe it, but maybe they know something I don't know. I mean, there's some personal relationships there. You mentioned Daniels, of course, Peters, that they go back. So maybe get him on the cheap too. I don't know. But just it seems to me, this is one of those things where I'm going, that's nice. Good for him that he's available. I'd like him to still be available. I don't want to be the one holding the bag. I don't want to be counting on this person because the thing that I can't do is have someone that I'm counting on that won't show up for me. Part of that is nobody's fault. Like a Noah Brown, for example. Nothing wrong with Noah Brown. Really nice guy. Seems like a good dude. Has had really bad luck. I can't have a plan where Noah Brown is my plan. We can't do that again. I can't have a plan where someone just might not be there, right? I don't know that Brandon Aiyuk will be Brandon Aiyuk ever again. Last time we saw him, he was not the same dude, had that injury, and hasn't really shown that the level of dedication or professionalism that's required to be really, really good in this league again. So that, to me, is buyer beware. But, again, maybe those dudes who've got history know something I don't know.
I think that the Adam Peters element to this, which you referenced, is probably the most cogent part of this whole deal, which is, what does Adam Peters think about Brandon Aiyuk? He went and got Deebo Samuel. He has done this with guys from San Francisco. And it's not just Deebo, Marquis and otherwise. He has brought a lot of guys in that he's been familiar with from the past, on the staff and as players at all. But I wonder, is he going to be interested in Brandon Aiyuk if he still has very close relationships with people in that San Francisco building, whether that's Kyle Shanahan or anybody else, and he calls over there and goes, what happened with Brandon? You know what he's going to do his due diligence. Hey, how did this go down? What is the deal? He's not going to like what he hears probably, if those are the sources that he's talking to. Can he overcome that? What was his personal opinion on Aiyuk, who he helped to draft? What was his personal opinion on the work habits and the relationship they had once he was in the building? If it was great, then maybe you don't really care what happened at the end after you left. And you could get into the end of a pretty messy relationship with someone else, but it's going to work out with me and you. It's a different thing. I wonder. I know how Jayden Daniels feels. I wonder how Adam Peters feels, and that probably matters a lot more.
Yeah, I mean I don't mind a data point of, hey, quarterback, or hey, anybody, like if a fellow receiver, if a tight end, or if a guard was there in San Francisco and knew him. Hey, what do you know about him? Right? What do you know? And obviously, Jayden Daniels has more insight than most. I think they're roommates, or at least they're really good buddies from Arizona State, etc. Peters was there as part of the drafting and the signing of him. So I don't mind data points coming in, but I can't have it be, oh, you guys are buds? Cool. Here's $20 million because you guys are text sometimes and FaceTime.
So that's the other part of this is I remember when Aaron Rodgers was trying to play GM, when he went to the Jets, and the report was via Diana Rossini, and he shot it down and made a bunch of comments about her that weren't very nice. And I thought she came out looking good in the end because they actually did a lot of it.
Yeah.
But if you remember, it was like he wants Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard, and he named a bunch of like old Packers that he wants to come with him to the Jets. And at the time you and I talked about this, and I don't remember exactly how we came away feeling individually, but I know my take has always been, when you get to a certain level of import and significance within the organization, when there's enough pelts on the wall and you're the future Hall of Famer, and I've invested enough time and energy and money into you, you definitely should get some type of seat at the table to give some opinions. I don't necessarily think you need to sit at the head of the table, but if you're Aaron Rodgers or you're Drew Brees or you're Tom Brady or you're Peyton Manning or even right now you're Lamar Jackson in Baltimore or whatever, Josh Allen in Baltimore in Buffalo and Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, I think those guys should get to talk on the phone to the GM or zoom in and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I like, here's what I don't like. And it should just be like talking to a scout or anyone else on the team, and they should feel important and feel involved. I don't know when that starts. Like, I'm not even opposed to Jayden Daniels being on that level because he's the face of your franchise. Do I think he's had enough pelts on the wall? Probably not. It's like one really good year, one disappointing year where he was hurt. But I'm even willing to say, because I think he's your franchise quarterback, because I think his skill set is special, because I think he's going to be a second contract guy who's here for a decade, I'm willing to play the game to allow Jayden to have a say, but I'm not just going to have him play assistant GM necessarily and be like, let's go get buddies, because I wouldn't do the same for Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Players don't make good GMs while they're playing because it becomes very much about relationships. And it's harder to make good decisions. If GMs only made decisions based on guys they liked or didn't, or, I would hate to think about him going home and telling his wife I'm cutting him. That's a really bad GM. You can't think that way.
That's right. Yeah, again, data points are welcome. I also wonder what the line is, and here's what I mean. If Daniels is going to be down in the dumps because they won't sign him or something, like that's not good either. I need you to be able to I'm not accusing Daniels of anything, by the way, but if this is like a point of no return, like I imagine it would be for Rodgers. Like Rodgers, the condition of my employment hinges on whether I get Nathaniel Hackett, Randall Cobb, and Alan Lazard to come also. You know what I mean? Like if you would like me, that's part and parcel. I don't think it's to that level yet, certainly. But I also wonder where the line is. In other words, like, hey, man, you made your suggestion. Thank you so much. Fare thee well. Or is it, hey, why do he keeps coming by my office and insisting that we do this? It's always so hard to say where the line is. Again, if a player can help, more data points, the better. I'd like all the information. But if the judgment is no, and thank you, we're moving on, hopefully that's final. It doesn't lead to any kind of strife or any kind of discord among the people that are trying to make this team good.
Two-part question for you guys. We're opening up the phones at 800-636-1067. You can always comment and send us your thoughts on the show at Grant H. Paulson, at Funny Danny on social. Do you like the idea of Washington bringing in Brandon Aiyuk, yes or no? 800-636-1067. If the answer is no, by the way, is that a injury, baggage thing? Is that a bad apple thing after he fell out of favor in San Francisco? Is there something else to it? Because let's face it, they are ravenous for help at receiver. And if you could bring him in on a flyer and he played good football to go get a big contract either here or somewhere else the next year, that's a gigantic win. That would be a big, big deal for them. So if you don't want to do it, why not? If you are for doing it, how much should the Daniels endorsement matter? Again, he has stated, I don't know if he's kind of acknowledged, agreed back when the whole thing happened where he was sending videos back and forth with Aiyuk and they were on FaceTime, and I think he sent him like a practice video or whatever that weird thing was before his rookie season that became a big deal. He acknowledged it's one of his best friends. So, of course, if I have a radio opening in 10 years or something, Danny, I'm going to go, let's call this guy Danny. And the program director is going to have to say, is he a fit? Is he not a fit? What are we doing? What don't we do? What are his strengths? I'll just trust me on this. I like this guy. We talk all the time. I go to his house and hang out and shoot basketball with him. And he's like, oh, well, if that's the case, no problem. We'll just give him a job. That's not how it works.
No.
Now, you happen to have a need, and this guy, before these injuries, was really, really good. So let's get into the injuries for a second. Right knee injury, torn ACL, MCL, and meniscus. I didn't realize it was all three of those, by the way. No wonder why he was out forever.
Yeah.
ACL, MCL, and meniscus in October of 24. The thing people sleep on is he missed most of the 24 season with the injury. Even if you go a full year, which is not always the case, but let's just say you bank in like the 12 months, would have been in November, second half, stretch run, return, and then he misses all of 25. At that position, what's the list of guys like that's missed that much time, a year and a half, and come back and been themselves?
And the other part is he wasn't playing particularly well, not having much of an impact before this injury. He signs this mega deal, if you recall. He had 2 catches in 4 of the 7 games that he played. One game, he was awesome. At 8 for 147. So that's the season.
This is the beginning of the 24 season?
Yeah, that's in 2024.
See, that's so long. I don't remember anything about that. I'm pulling up his game.
So I remembered it very well because there was a data point with him and with McLaurin, a couple of the other guys that are in that tier that we understand he's not Puka Nacua, understand he's not JSN, but he's really good and that you got to pay at the top of the market.
So he chews up Arizona 8 for $150. And yeah, otherwise it was like a lot of 2 for 30s. Early in that season.
Yeah, he had 2 catches, exactly 2 catches in 4 of the 7 games that he played. Then he got hurt, and then that was all she wrote. Not particularly impactful, nowhere near what they were bargaining for.
Maybe
slow
guy,
start.
Though,
yeah.
That he, like that 8 for 147, you have 3 of those, and at the end of the year, it's like 70 for 1157.
Yeah, the numbers add up. I totally do. But this was also, remember, there was holdout, there was contract stuff. This took a long time. So the thought was, okay, maybe it's a slow start. But again, we were well into the season. It wasn't like you were bad for a couple of weeks, maybe working your way back in on a snap count. That was kind of the excuse. Before he got hurt, in San Francisco, would say, what a grave disappointment this has been, right? Where they signed him this mega deal and he's doing nothing. Then he's hurt. Then you have all the dramatics of this year. This is a buyer beware situation.
I am uninterested in Brandon Aiyuk mostly because of how San Francisco ended, because of his injury history, and because we're preaching culture over and over and over again, but we keep doing these things that don't feel very culture-y. Like, I don't think Deebo Samuel is a bad guy at all. My limited interactions with him in person were fine. He's not, like, very personable or media-friendly or anything, but I think he's a good enough dude. Like, I like Deebo Samuel. I also think he is very much a march to the beat of his own drum type dude a little bit. And what I mean by that is, like, it went against a lot of the other type of moves that they made. And I just feel like Brandon Aiyuk might be that way too. Now, because he's really close with the QB, maybe you save his career and he has this very different paradigm when he gets here than he had in San Francisco. I don't know. But do you want to preach the culture thing or not? If you're constantly talking culture, then you can't pounce on every guy that has a falling out with his team when you feel like there might be value there.
Yeah, if your culture is established and good enough, you can fold in I don't have a better expression. You could fold in the occasional bad apple. That's happened time in memoriam where teams have been really, really good. You get a guy to act right. I mean, think of the Patriots. Take over those years.
Corey Dillon, Randy
so
Moss.
many reclamation projects to a degree. Guys that could still play, obviously, but had a character issue
Aaron
or something.
Hernandez.
Yeah, like you do that, you fold it in, and your culture's so good, you show up and you play well because the expectation's there.
In fairness,
they're not there yet, though.
Brandon Aiyuk, I don't even want to say though that he's and you're not, but I'm just saying I've referenced this idea of this bad apple ending in San Francisco. It might not be him. You know, I don't like how he handled it. I don't like how this happened. But when it's been one of these, I'm not going to always file you into that drawer. Like when James Harden, everywhere he goes, it ends the same way. I'm like, all right, if you date James Harden, this is how the relationship.
This is how the breakup happens. Yeah.
Aiyuk, we've got one pretty bad breakup, so to speak. So maybe Jayden Daniels can vouch for him and say, listen, I'm telling you, this is a pretty good dude. And he's got his side of the story with San Francisco. And he was so mad at them before they paid him all the money. Now, you accepted it. You signed the contract. So it's kind of hard for me to both ways this thing. But maybe there is another side that at some point we'll hear. I don't know. I just would be uncomfortable making any legitimate commitment. So while I am uninterested, that's the word I would use, and I would say I'm inclined to look elsewhere for receiver help. At 1 year on a complete show-me contract, so we're talking a couple $1,000,000, something very minuscule, well below what his market was before these injuries, which is now, I think, what he should be making until he proves he's healthy, if nothing else. I would not hate it. GM Paulson is not doing that deal, but if Peters does it, either because he likes the player that he knows from San Fran, or because his quarterback is advocating in the office, or because of their urgency and desperation to get better at receiver. And remember, Terry's probably in his last year here, so you're thinking bigger picture too. I'm not going to hate it, but you better be right. And by the way, when they went and did the Debo thing, we're like, look, who knows him better than Peters? It worked out okay, but it's not like they knew something nobody else did. This idea that, we know what we're getting. You got the same thing San Francisco did the year before.
Right. And it was certainly worth it to you for a 5th rounder, right? Just because you were devoid.
I would make the trade again, but it's not like that was some gigantic win.
No,
Laramie Tunsil, big-time win.
That's a win.
Marshawn Lattimore, big-time loss. Debo's just kind of a middling thing in the middle.
Yeah.
Now, 5th-round pick, that's a win of a trade, but you could have used those resources to find another receiver that might have been able to do more.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the only interest I would have, and I have no idea what the state of the market is, honestly, for Aiyuk. I don't know if people are going, hey, I've talked to someone, and now we know we've got enough medical to figure out he'll be just fine. This is really about the John Lynch was a bully or something. I mean, I have no idea. But the market, the only thing that I could stand would be listen, man, we'll get something out of this, and you prove that you deserve a market. This is your interim year. You will have to go on a prove-it deal, as you said, heavily incentivized. Very little upfront money, not much against the cap, and that's not going to be the only thing I do at receiver either. The thing I can't have is...
That's a great point.
I can't have we got Noah Brown. Work here is done at the position. Let's move on to something else. No. That can be a supplement. That can be the third thing you do to go with my Alec Pierce signing and a couple other guys I'm interested in. I need to revamp that room. He can also come too, but that can't be what I'm counting on, and I think they've made that mistake.
He's Danny. I'm Grant. You're listening to The Fan. Yeah, that cannot be the eggs in the basket move where you throw your resources at Aiyuk, even if it's nothing, and you go, all right, we got McLaurin, we got Aiyuk, what's next? If you want to try the Aiyuk thing out, cool, but you better have 2 or 3 other guys, whether that's the draft or free agency, they're going to help that position as well. I think that's a good point.